Alright, let's cover the top picks for each role in patch 14.8, boys. There are a decent chunk of changes as MSI is right around the corner, so let's dive right in. Getting started in the top lane, we have the champion who's finally made his comeback, and that is Mordekaiser. With the change to his ultimate no longer allowing items or abilities to escape his death realm, Mordekaiser has now found a spot on the top of the tier lists as a tanky utility champ who is designed to single out the enemy carries or remove the jungler from the smite fight equation. This is paired alongside his basic ability buffs to his Q, lowering it down by 1 second at each rank. The E does less damage, but who needs to land a pull when the enemy is trapped in the death realm with you anyway? With all of this being said, however, Mordekaiser's matchups are still relatively the same in 14.8. He does not like laning versus ranged champs or bruisers who want to full all in on him, such as Darius or Olaf. Versus tanks and other poke-like matchups, Mordekaiser will slot in just fine. Another top lane goat that has found his new home up here will be Skarner. With the changes and rework to Skarner, many players are finding more success with him in the top lane rather than jungle. So much so, Riot actually needed to nerf Skarner because of his oppressive laning. Sitting at a 53% win rate, Skarner wins lanes naturally through his early lane damage with his Q and ability to wave clear fast or fight due to the empowered autos and AoE abilities he has. Once Skarner hits 6, the real kill threat comes in, as anytime the enemy does not have a flash or a dash, Skarner can easily gap close on top of the enemy with his E and set up a full CC combo for his jungler to get some easy picks. Next up, do bear in mind that this is just a suggested champs list. Click the link in the description box below right now to sign up to GameLeap.com and master every single champion covered in this video. We've got hundreds and hundreds of guides authored by challenger coaches for every role and scenario you can think up. We're talking macro guides, champion-specific courses, laning deep dives, and more. So again, hit the link below right now to sign up. It's gonna be sweet. In the mid lane, Taliyah has retained her throne as being a top-tier mid laner due to the high amount of mobility in the game, allowing her to completely shut that off and play both the roles of a control mage and assassin. The biggest struggle we see many players have on Taliyah mid is not being able to trade properly, so here's a bit of advice to up your game for Taliyah mid. The best way to get a seismic shove off is to openly show yourself disappearing into fog after clearing a wave, and waiting inside the bush for the enemy to either try to follow or to walk to the bush and ward. You faking this rotation allows you to hide your W setup, so by the time they either drop the ward or go to follow you, you can unleash a full combo on them and then go back to shoving the next wave. Next up, and it's that time again. We've mentioned Ryze before in our recent videos, but here he is yet again with another buff that must be like his 20th buff in a row at this point. Riot really wants Faker to pick him at MSI, apparently, and we don't blame them. Increasing rune prisons slow by 25% and lowering the cooldown by 2 seconds is going to do wonders for Ryze's gank setup. The issue with Ryze mid most of the time is playing versus control mages that outrange him, which is the current meta right now with Orianna, Aurelion Sol, and Hui. But now that W has been buffed yet again, one gank is all Ryze needs in order to get his snowball rolling. By using W or EW to set up a gank, this allows Ryze to get an easier setup mid lane, allowing him to get his Merc Treads rush sooner, which completely cancels out the range difference in mid lane due to the increase in move speed and MR. Our advice is to start picking this champion sooner rather than later before Riot changes their mind. In the ADC role, there's really been no change at the top, so the top 2 ADCs are still going to be Jinx and Zeri. So rather than speaking about them again, let's do a quick talk about the other ADCs that got buffed in 14.8 and whether or not they are playable. First off, Draven got a 5 damage buff to his Q, which no one, literally not even Draven mains, asked for, so he is still holding the reins firmly of being a BF sword holder at level 1. Kai'Sa also got a neat little Q buff, adding 5% AD scaling to it. This buff was meant to deter Kai'Sa players from going the full AP poke build. Let's be honest here, this only helps her in every single way, but I guess if you want to watch Jackie Love go AD Kai'Sa and dash into people, then there is the buff for that. And lastly, Jhin. Jhin got himself a pretty nice Q-AD ratio buff alongside a passive movement speed buff. This means that Jhin may be playable again in the near future, but it is too soon to tell with the hypercarry meta completely scaling at this time beyond Jin's reach. So those are all of the AD buffs, so while the already top tier playable champs are still definitely playable, they're now just that little bit stronger going into 14.8. So there you have it. Moving on to jungle, we want to also mention him here yet again. So Skarner is finding incredible usage due to his quick and easy clear because of the bonus damage and AoE of his abilities as stated before. But what really sets Skarner apart from other junglers right now is his ability to gank like a Kayn, but instead of having no CC and just damage like Kayn, Skarner has tons of CC and arguably just as much damage in the early game. Being able to E a target into a wall, then slow them with the boulder, just to wrap it up with Skarner R, makes for a quick and easy meal for any laner of your choice. The only real issue for Skarner jungle is ganking mid lane, as there is not as many walls that you can slam enemies into, but if you get creative enough with your pathing, you might just find a way to either push the enemy outside of their turret range or onto a turret itself. Bel'Veth is still running rampant in the jungle due to her insane early skirmishing abilities, and with no jungler being able to counter or match her right now, it's pretty easy to collect LP on this champion. The only champions that somewhat counter her are Rammus, Poppy, and Jax, all of which are completely team reliant. So while you can pilot a champ that turbo 1v9s games and really dictates the tempo of the game, the enemy jungler, who locks any of the 3 champions we just mentioned, is forced to gank and eventually fall off due to the nature of their kit, which was picked just to counter your autos and dashes. The biggest bit of advice we have to give right now to many Bel'Veth players is to start Raptors and clear your 3 camps and look for a quick and early gank that catches enemies off guard. Bel'Veth with all 4 Qs may have the quickest 3 camp clear out of any of the junglers, really only matched by Shaco with boxes up. So get off those early ganks for some free LP. And finally, that brings us to the happy little support role. In the support role, the 2 best champions for supporting are still going to be Blitzcrank and Melio. Each serve their purpose of either enhancing their AD as Melio or hooking the enemy AD and one-shotting them before any help arrives as Blitzcrank. Our advice would be to pick Melio over Blitzcrank, just because Melio provides more utility to his team. Obviously, this is due to his bountiful healing and shields, and range increasing for our hyper carries down in the bot lane. Being able to itemize Moonstone, Ardent, and Knight's Vow has proven to be quite useful when your ADC is fed and being stat boosted to infinity. If the enemy does pick a hyper carry and an enchanter to match, then pick Blitzcrank to counter. Don't try to overforce plays or feel the need to rush spam hooks. Take your time and learn the enemy's movement before throwing out your hook. All it takes is one good hook in the mid to late game in order to completely change the state of the game. And that is it for this week's top champions of patch 14.8. If you have any suggestions of picks that you've been finding success with that we should test out ourselves, then do let us know in the comments. Remember to head on into the video description and click the link to sign up to GameLoop.com to unlock access to hundreds of League of Legends guides to really step up your game and achieve the next level. For now, thanks for watching, and we shall catch all of y'all just a tad bit later.